Awake thou that sleepest. Arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
And we're back at it again this Saturday morning. Hope you had a great week. Hope you had nice discussions with your friends and family. They're getting very interesting, getting very stressed, but I think it's just part of the days that we're in, folks. Days that we're in. Last Call Radio. B.J. Edwards, Mr. Anderson. What do you mean by last call? Maybe it is indeed that. So join us today for our special Maskless in America program. Folks, we are going to stretch your mind because you need to defend your liberties. Every Saturday morning, tell your friends about us. Christian Talk Radio with a sting. Last Call Relief with a common dose of common sense. Shine a little light in a dark world. So grab a cup of coffee and dive in, folks. If you want to call in and talk to the host or Mr. Anderson, 302-202-1110. We're an extension of Open Line Friday, so have at it, although we do have some subjects we're going to talk about today. Again, 302-202-1110. If you want to talk to myself or Mr. Anderson, 745-353 is your caller code. 745-353. Patrick Henry. Is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? I think a very appropriate quote for these days. Forbid it, Almighty God. I know what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Hey, what's wrong with wearing a mask? Huh? Just wear the mask. There's no harm in wearing the mask. We have no proof that you need to wear the mask. But what's wrong with wearing the mask?
Because it's mind control. As it says on the screen there.
Folks, don't fall for this. The research is clear. White people are not more likely than black people to be killed by the police. Nonsense. And a trap question, my good brothers and sisters. It's a trap question. Do not answer this question. I repeat, do not answer this question with figures. Remember, figures don't lie, but liars figure.
Yeah, that really applies now, doesn't it?
Yeah. So how do I respond, BJ? This is incredible. This is how you should respond. Here we go again. Consider asking a question. You don't even need figures to back up this question. Just ask one question about blacks, or for that matter, whites, or any other skin color or nationality. Ask this question. Gosh, I wonder what their family background was like. Whose family background? Those that murdered the police, or their citizens, or 3-year-olds. Somebody's burying a 3-year-old today. That shouldn't be. Single parent? What was their background? Single parent or natural family? Or how about this? I wonder how many of those killers came from broken, dysfunctional, abusive homes. Then shut up Don't say anything. And if you need to, just walk away. Don't get into the trap, the argument. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. Don't do that. Just ask that intelligent question. I remember an interview that Candace was in, Candace Owens, and it was a very, very antagonistic crowd. And they were just going after her left and right, or left and left, I guess would be. And all of a sudden, the subject, immediate change. And the left even acknowledged it. Our enemy acknowledges it. They know the power of the family. I'm not downplaying any of the symptoms. I'm going to make some friends here this morning. The symptoms.
You're always good at that.
Of a dysfunctional friend. Yeah, I was practicing yesterday very hard. I'm always the symptoms of a broken family. And you see it in our nation every day. You see it in Seattle. You see it in Minneapolis. You've seen it in the streets of Columbus, Ohio, or Boston. The product, the results. You see it at abortion clinics. You see it when our congressmen, our representatives, or our Supreme Court tells us that marriage is no longer between one man, biologically born, and one woman, biologically born. That no longer applies. Truth doesn't change, folks. Nature doesn't change. DNA doesn't change. But you got to be prepared and have the right answers. And they don't have an answer for the natural family. When you talk to a gay couple, ask them about procreation.
Talking about somebody that's happy?
Mm-hmm. Yes? Or do this. Back to the family. Back to the answer. Go into your prison system and take a poll of the prisoners and ask them about their families. Their family life. I remember a story that we told, a report. I think it was from an ex-football player that went into the prison systems along with Hallmark, and they offered free Mother's Day cards to all the inmates. And every one of them sent a Mother's Day card. It's very successful. So they went into the prisons again, Father's Day this time, offered free Hallmark Father's Day cards. And like we reported, zero, zitch, nada sent one to their father. Fatherless homes. Let's talk about that. Talk about abusive homes. Maybe a little bit more on that later. Are you getting tired of seeing America's greatest of all time game show? It's called the Shame Game. You see it being played in homes, in the public, on social media, and it does have unparalleled popularity, doesn't it? I was watching Fox News this morning. The first thing I hear from one of the hosts was masks. First, I turned it on. First thing I heard is masks are necessary. It's a given. Masks are necessary. Really? And of course, the next subject was vaccinations and how important they are. And then on to the next subject, which paralleled this one. We need to open public schools as soon as possible so they can get their vaccinations and their indoctrinations. The four things. Life has no meaning. Those children need to be taught. They need to be taught. It's very important that they learn that life has no meaning, that they were born from primordial sludge, that they evolved, therefore they have no responsibility, they didn't have a creator. That's key, that's critical, that's foundational. And the schools teach it well. They teach it well. Life has no meaning. Morals are relative. I'm okay, you're okay. As long as you're not hurting anybody. If you go against nature, folks, you're hurting somebody, likely yourself for starters. Man, not God, is the measure of all things. If there is no God, then we'll go to man. Of course, man has this nature issue and this objective issue, and they seem to be changing from time to time. If you leave it up to man and you ignore nature and you ignore the Bible and you ignore the Word, then you're going to have continual evolving laws. What we put someone to death for one decade, we praise them for the next. Praise them for the next. Oh no? Tell somebody in Seattle. Tell the mother and the father, those 3-year-olds that were killed. Tell them. And of course, the state is your daddy. And right now, we're having an adolescent spew between the state and their children. You see it in Seattle. You see it all over the United States. You learn authority. You learn morals in the family. Or you don't learn authority or morals in the family. What do you have faith in? This is really, really interesting. What do you have faith in? No other gods but me, right? Don't worship any graven image like a mask. Superstition definition. A belief or practice resulting from ignorance, fear of the unknown, trust in magic or chance, or a false conception of causation. A notion maintained despite evidence to the contrary, or lack of evidence. An irrational, abject attitude of mind towards the supernatural or God resulting from superstition. Do we have a choice here? Our Creator or a mask? Old wives' tales is supposed to be truth, which is actually spurious or a superstition. It can be said sometimes to be a type of urban legend, said to be passed down from older women to younger generations. Such tales are considered superstitions, folklore, unverified claims with exaggerated and or inaccurate details. They often center on traditional concerns such as pregnancy, but how about the horseshoe over the doorway? If you sit on a cold wall, it'll give you piles, right? Pull out a gray hair, and 2 will grow in its place. I can tell you, that ain't working. My fingers are calloused. My fingers are calloused.
You get sunburned in the new area, don't you?
Yes. Black cats walking in front of you. How about this? You'll catch a cold if you go out in the winter without a coat. Sneezing is a little death. In a mass superstition, is a mass superstition about to destroy America and mankind? If you wore an astronaut suit for 5 years, everybody in the world wore an astronaut suit for 5 years, or maybe 3 years, and everybody wore it, and then after the end of the 3 years, or even 1 year, we took that suit off, what would happen to mankind? Where would your immune system be? Just asking questions, folks.
I was going to say our dumps would be full of diapers.
True. Ben Franklin said, those who would give up an essential liberty, not wearing a mask, for instance, for temporary security deserve neither liberty or security. This is B.J. Edwards along Mr. Anderson. How do I get that one short clip up that you were showing me, those clips earlier?
Well, it's a little tricky,
Is it?
but not too hard. What did you want?
The short one, yeah, that one. B.J. Edwards along Mr. Anderson, your last call.
Yeah, it's gonna. Oh shoot. Share screen. What did I just do?
Like I said, technical difficulties.
Well, it's just not as easy as we would like it to be. Lola moms.
Yep.
Play. Play. Is it playing?
I can hear it in my headset.
Why isn't? Oh, you know why? It's on top. Why isn't it?
You think it's playing or just B.J. Edwards along Mr. Anderson, your last call? I want to give a shout out to some family members. The Christian militia, for starters. Peace, sovereignty, through strength and unity. Through strength and unity, God's soldiers of the Christian militia are working together to resurrect the word of our one true sovereign God. We will loudly declare our national love for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. With his leadership, we will forge the Holy Spirit-led revival of the church, his church, and restore the men of the church to the rightful place as heads of the household and promote and protect the natural family. Why don't you get Bevelin up if you can?
I just figured out what I did wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jerry Quintana is a founder, and you can catch, and I recommend you do this, go to Christian Militia on Facebook or www.christianmilitia.org. christianmilitia.org. Plus, another family member, the United Saints of America. I love that. The United Saints of America. I don't think America really had the correct name. I think Sylvester Bland, Pastor Sylvester Bland, got it right, and he should have been back in the day. Oh, Pastor Sylvester Bland in California, who has made a total commitment and unselfish investment in home churches. What a novel thought. By the way, Mr. Anderson, remind me to call our good brother, Pastor Bland, and get him on our program soon.
Oh, they would love hearing him.
Yeah, folks need to hear it.
Yeah.
Folks need to hear it.
Why haven't we done that already?
I don't know. That's probably more me than anything else, although I'll blame it on you. So if you're ready for Bevelin, fine. If not, I'm going to get into headlines.
I'm getting close.
Okay.
I'm getting close.
Let's get into headlines. Newly declassified documents. These are headlines. Prove the FBI knew the investigation was fraudulent, but proceeded with false investigation to try to take down the presidency anyway. I can tell you, folks, that the enemy, the progressives, the left, are getting very frustrated with not being able to nail down Donald Trump. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? There's got to be something there. If you throw enough stuff on the wall, it'll stick. Did you know that the residential area around Washington, D.C., where deep state employees live, did you know that only 2% of this residential Democrat voted for the president? Tick tock. Is it sinking in? Let me translate. The deep state never wanted Donald Trump to be our president, and they even more so do not want him now. Can you imagine that you are the president of a company and 92% of the employees don't like you and want to get rid of you? What happens? I'm telling you what, I've not seen too many miracles in my life, but the fact that Donald Trump is still in office, well, I'll let you fill in the blanks.
Oh my!
New twist. Go ahead.
It's just amazing. It amazes me.
Well, maybe because he's one of them. Maybe that's it, Mr. Anderson.
They accuse. They call him a liar, 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 and they can't prove any of those things.
Yep.
And they tried for how long now?
Almost 4 years. New twist in McCloskey case. That's the St. Louis couple.
Yeah.
Evidence tampered with by the state. The gun, did you know that the gun that she had out there was basically just a prop because it did not work?
Inoperable.
Did you know that? Well, I can tell you that some of the state workers knew and fixed it for her. So now they can actually say, well, she did point a weapon other than a paperweight.
So the prosecutor made that gun so it was operable.
Right.
And now they're using it as evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Before, oh my goodness. How do they get away with stuff like that?
We let them. We find the newest fad, the newest conspiracy theory. Did you know? And did you know that Harry was dead? And did you know? I got to tell you, Alice. I got to tell you, Fred. I know what's going on here. I know. I got the scoop. We got so many newspaper reporters in America. It's just incredible. Speaking of news, Feinstein threatens to block coronavirus relief to states that don't mandate masks. Florida State student government ousts student for Catholic beliefs. The problem in Portland, listen up, headline, the problem in Portland isn't the law, it's lawlessness.
Less law, yeah.
Folks, I know there's a lot of fear about when leftist, Marxist, God-hating politicians get control of the presidency and Congress and the Senate. But ask yourself this, how much will change? How much will change? They're fixing a paperweight to make it a weapon in Missouri. Our president has been accused, and they can't prove it, but they keep going after it. We have a supposed pandemic with no facts. Just deep state doctors and politicians who want to get rid of the president. It's the economy, stupid, right? If you destroy the economy, you can take the president down, right?
And a whole lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
Like a nation.
Can we now get justice in America? In Columbus, Ohio, 3 citizens who stood outside of the same abortion clinic have been summoned to court to defend their First Amendment rights on three different accusations. One already lost his case where a clinic worker claimed that he threatened their life. No, there's witnesses, yeah, and here's what they said. He told them that sinners go to hell. Yep, and the judge, of course, agreed with the clinic worker. And I mentioned the St. Louis couple. They're financially strained now. Justice has fallen in the streets, and unless you act, and that means do something today and next week and this weekend. How can I do something this weekend? Everything's closed. Are you going to talk to relatives this weekend? Are you going to talk to neighbors? Are you going to go shopping at a store with a mask or without a mask? You naughty person.
Henri.
This past week, I talked with the sheriff of our county, put a call into the police department, and they haven't called me back yet. My family, folks in the grocery store, in addition to my regular duties as director of the Natural Family Foundation and a social media watchdog, I might add, I participated no less than in 4 conference calls in an effort to form more unity in our cause. And by the way, folks, our enemy is united. United in hate, hate for righteousness, hate for whitey, for the American way, hate, 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 hate. That's a tough unity to break. It really is. Hate is a strong, strong emotion. For some reason, it's easier for us to feel or to accept the negatives about somebody as versus the positives. I'm defending you all the time, Mr. Anderson. Trust me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I don't know how. I just put on that armor and go about my business. Hopefully it works.
Let me share something else with you. Things are going to change. They are going to change. It's just the results that you need to concern yourself with. And you need to concern yourself now before it's too late. And too late could be the second coming. But sadly, after an unbelievable persecution, which I believe is still avoidable, may not be, but I believe it's still avoidable. So honk your horn and say amen, right?
Meep, meep, meep.
Don't you love church these days, huh? Don't you just love it?
I don't know. We meet in our church, regular way we've been doing.
Yeah? How's
Oh,
that?
yeah.
How's that?
How's that? Well, you come in, you sit down, we play a few songs, and we ring the bell, and no mask. No. Well, we social distance depending on who we like and who we don't like.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't invented drive-through church.
There has been.
Has there been?
Actually, there have been. Drive-through.
Explain a drive-through church to me.
I can't exactly, but it looked like what you would do when you drive up to a bank, and you would drop your prayer request in. And I don't know exactly how that works, but I guess they take your prayer request and they pray for you.
God's got to be so proud of us.
That's on the way to the golf course or something,
Yes.
I think.
And this, another headline in. Yes, one more. This is Dateline, Atlanta, Georgia. Chick-fil-A has come under fire for its offensive gender name, since chick is a crude way to refer to as a biological female individual of the human species. Effective immediately, all Chick-fil-A stores will be renamed to They Filet.
They filet.
Mm-hmm. Using
that sounds scary.
using an accepted what are you eating? Using an accepted gender neutral pronoun rather than the archaic term of chick. And as we all know, the term chick is an outdated word that has no place in modern society. We're sorry for any hurt we have caused to the female individuals patronizing our business, said CEO Dan Cathy, before stooping and shining in the shoes of the black reporter interviewing him. Would you like me to this is true. It was on the internet. Would you like me to wash your car too? Anything you want, said President Cathy. The reporter at first thought it awkward. And quickly, as Cathy started in on her left shoe, but then she remembered that Dan, who was a white man and a Christian, so of course she would expect at the very least he would then point, at least to her car. So she pointed to her in the parking lot, and away he went. Dan quickly ran out to the parking lot and started on her call. By the way, it's a little known fact that the restaurant has changed its name several times in its history. It was originally named Broad Filet, B-R-O-A-D,
Oh no.
versus Chick. That was changed in the 80s after Dan Cathy father told him never call chicks broads. They also tried to name Chick-fil-A a Crystal for a brief period, but it didn't catch on. For the latest name change, the term Lady a Filet was considered but rejected as it contains gendered language and could offend some, which is often Chick-fil-A never, ever wants to do. It looks like they filet will stick for a while, though, until the masses find something unacceptable about it in a decade or so. That's from our friends at the Babylon Bee. After take a break, we're going to hear from Bevelin.
Biker Bill,
Yeah?
who reminded me we have to mention it.
Biker Bill?
Yeah,
Biker
he
Bill.
was hoping that was Babylon Bee. He
Yeah.
was getting a little
He was-
worried. You had him worried there. So,
Can I play this and then we'll get into Bevelin? Just a quick
yeah,
break.
play that. Station ID.
Yeah, yeah. Did I get it? I'll try it again.
What's happening?
Don't know. Do we have the wrong one up? Is it the yellow one or the...
It's this one. I don't know. I switched things around. Maybe I got the wrong one.
Technician needed. Apply within.
Biker Bill, can you come and help?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
All right. Hey, we...
This is Last Call Radio .live. You can find us at mmunited.org or lastcallradio.live.
I want to get into Mass Don't Work, but I'm going to get sidelined a little bit because I heard a young lady. I think you probably heard about her. She was in New York City, and New York City has Black Lives Matter. It's all imprinted on the street. And this young lady took some black paint and got down on her hands and knees and started painting over Black Lives Matter. She was quickly escorted away by the police, who had a little trouble getting to her because it was kind of slick with all that paint. And they slipped. One of them slipped down and fell down. But it was interesting to see that happen. But go ahead.
And along with it, she was saying, refund the police.
Yep.
Refund the police. They were like, well, what do we do with this one? Yeah,
Crazy.
go ahead.
So she, and we're trying to get her on for our show. We need to get her on for show because once you hear this interview and you understand where we're coming from with the family, if this isn't a match made in heaven, I don't know what is. Especially when Bevelin gets into her background, which I can definitely associate with. Bevelin is interviewing with Coach Dave Daubenmire.
Oh, I hate it when I do that.
What'd you do?
I think I hit the wrong button.
Okay. She's
So
interviewing
we'll be back.
with Coach Dave Daubenmire on his early morning show, CoachDaveLive.com. And it was just an incredible interview. And the first thing she started talking about was the family. Like I said earlier today, forget about the facts. Forget about the figures. Sound like Joe there, right? Forget about the facts. Forget about the numbers and get into the real issue. And the real issue is the family, folks.
Ready?
Well, let's have at it.
Got up so early this morning out there in New Jersey and being part of it. You there?
Oh, nothing. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Got up so early this morning out there in New Jersey and being part of it. You there?
Oh, nothing. Yeah, thank you. It's okay. It's totally okay. Anything for you. Ken already told me.
You sound so. Yes, you sound so sweet and so soft and so compliant. What the heck has gotten into you, Bevelin?
Jesus.
Jesus is what you
Yeah,
said.
but man, you're going against the flow, man. You are so going against the flow. And Bevelin, what is it? I know it's Jesus, okay? I know Ken and Joe Scott. I know the people that you're associated with. Well, let this fire. It has to take unbelievable courage, Bevelin, for a black woman to who swim upstream against this Black Lives movement. What's inspired you to do that, dear?
It's the word of God. I know the truth. I know the truth. I know what Black Lives Matter really stands on. You know, first and foremost, Black Lives Matter, even though the organization says Black Lives Matter, I know for a fact that they go against everything that a Christian stands for. They are against the black man more than we realize, against black people. First and foremost, Black Lives Matter does not support the nuclear family.
Hello.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
First and foremost.
by default, Black Lives Matter does not support black men. Because we know in the black community, one of the biggest issues is not having a father. And what is the nuclear family? It's the man as the leader, the woman as the helpmate, and then the children as the fruit of that relationship. They don't believe in that. They want to see a family with two women. They want to see a family with two men. Okay? So Black Lives Matter wants to take away our fathers. All right? We barely have any left. That's why you see young black men in jail right now and young black men shooting up each other in the streets because they don't have any daddy. That's strike one. Strike two, they support abortion. They support choice. The number one killer of black Americans is abortion. 28 million babies already, averaging to about 675,000 babies a year. The number one killer of us. And they support it. They're for it. They're for choice. They the money that they get, they give it to Planned Parenthood. So that's strike two. Strike three, the LGBTQ agenda. Like I said before, and I'm so unapologetic about this, and I will never change my stance on this. Two men can never raise a child.
It's unnatural.
Together, and two women can never properly raise a child or family.
That's
together.
unnatural too.
It is not the will of God. Okay? And so, first of all, by not having no fathers in the family, our kids are going to be set up for failure because they're against fathers. All right? By supporting abortion, our kids are going to die in the womb before they even hit the ground. That's why we are declining. We were 13%, we're 12%, and soon we'll be headed to 11%, all right, of this nation. And then on top of that, we cannot reproduce ourselves if we are living in a abominable relationship with two men or two women practicing homosexuality. On top of that, they're trying to feminize our men and emasculate our women. This is totally against God. So that right there, any Christian alone, no matter how good the slogan sounds, should not be supporting BLM off of that alone. But the biggest one for me is that they never talk about black on black crime and they support abortion. But listen, last year alone, only 9 to 16 black men were killed unjustly by white men, okay, white cops. They raise hell. They flipping tables. They destroying businesses. They ruining cities, okay? But just this weekend, 62 black men got shot in New York and 12 died. Where was Black Lives Matter?
Here's a quote from her website, Marriage and Sexual Relations, and I can't read it all, but
God instituted marriage between male and female as the foundation of the family. The basic...
yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
I could slide it back probably if you want
No,
to
go ahead and
finish
play it.
it.
Go ahead and play it. I pretty much could read it off of our site. Can you freeze it there? God instituted marriage between male and female as the foundation of the family, the basic structure of human society. God has commanded that no intimate sexual activity be engaged other than in the context of marriage between a man and a woman. We believe that marriage is exclusively the union of one genetic male and one genetic female. God has wonderfully and immutably created each person as male and female. These two distinct complementary genders together reflect the image and nature of God. Wow. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I got that from her website, so.
Did you blow it up again?
Do what?
Did you blow up our video again?
No, I ended it.
Okay. Was that it? Is that the end of the video?
That was it.
I hope you caught what she was saying. Now, had I been interviewing this young lady Oh, one thing that we would have talked about, and she got into it in a portion of this, I think, after what Mr. Anderson had about her family upbringing. And I think she said her father was in prison for murder. I know of individuals whose fathers should have been in prison for murder, but they remained in the family and tried to destroy what was left of that family. Abusive, sexually, physically, mentally, going after every member of the family. I don't know what possesses people to do that. Maybe it's a spirit inside of them. I don't know. Maybe it's insecurities. I don't know. I just know that your father doesn't have to be convicted murder and prisoner to be a bad father. There's a lot of bad fathers destroying good homes. Personally, I grew up in one of those hellholes, and it was a hellhole. And you never really get over the damage, the hurt. And the one thing that Bevelin has that I can really associate, and this is something you get when you're brought up in a home like she was brought up and like I was brought up in, is you have an incredible hunger, thirst. You're born with a lot of apps that God gives you. You know the difference between right and wrong. That's a strong app. You need a mother and a father. That's a strong app. But when that isn't there, you spend the rest of your life trying to fill in the vacuum. Not only did Bevelin probably not have the father in the home, but she didn't see righteousness, and that bothered her. Think what it would take for you to go to New York City knowing that you're going to be arrested, getting down on your hands and knees, screaming out for righteousness. Maybe it takes some courage, or maybe you can't help yourself. But I can tell you from personal experience, and I think Bevelin would testify to it as well, that lack of righteousness, that lack of right and wrong, and you know it's good, and you know that you need to have that, drives you crazy. And people think you're crazy, and people don't want to talk to you. There goes Bevelin, there goes BJ again. Judgmental. It's a desire, it's a need to fill that vacuum. She's got it. She's got it. And God help you if you get in the road. I love it. I love it. But you know, in all this, you always want to blame somebody. The black problem, it's Whitey. Whitey's caused the systemic racism. Bull. Whoops, almost said it. Bull. BS. I don't know of anyone who is racist, let alone systematic racist, that they spend their evenings wanting to know how they can hurt somebody because of their skin color. I don't know anybody like that. Do you? You don't. Maybe, well, I'm sorry. Maybe if you're on the left, you might know somebody. You probably know somebody purposely doing that. And sometimes the road to hell is paved with good intention. And I'll give Lyndon Baines Johnson at least that much. But what he did was destroy the family. Because the black family. Because he thought the state could be a better daddy.
And the church. He did a lot of damage there, too.
Yep. But this isn't. We had a show one time on victims and how we just seem to be a nation that thrives on being a victim of something or some other. We're all victims. We're all helpless. And I'm sure that's government driven, because if there's a problem, what's the first thing we ask for? How's the government going to get more involved in this? How can the government do this better, right? Sure.
There ought to be a law.
That's what we do.
There ought to be a law.
That's what we do. You can choose to be a victim. And yeah, I hear you. With Bevelin, sometimes that's inside of you. But if you use it for good, If you use what Satan meant for bad, if you use that for good, which she did, look at the attention she's gotten. And it's good attention. It's attention to the family. So you can take those bad things that happen to you. And yeah, it's going to drive some maybe your wife crazy or your children crazy. But good for you. Good for you. What's your other choice? To sit back and let all this insanity happen? I don't think so, Tim. I don't think so. I've got a letter from E.W. Jackson, incredible man, Harvard graduate, black. Oh, how'd that happen? Somebody didn't have to help him, right? Which I want to read to you, which gets into this victimology that we've got. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This is your last call, 302-202-1110 if you'd like to talk with us. Again, B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. I don't know whether we're going to be able to play that or not, Mr. Anderson.
I don't know why it's not working.
Try it again.
That is rather odd.
Something's unplugged. Something's unplugged. Okay. We are back. We never left.
We never left. But we're back.
Welcome to Technical Difficulties. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, and also known as your last call. Dear Patriots, I thought the left had become so irrational that nothing they could do would shock me. However, when I saw what the Smithsonian was promoting on its website for its National African American Museum of History and Culture, there's a problem right there. What is an African American? I was rendered speechless. Remember that the Smithsonian is a taxpayer-funded institution, yet they are promoting anti-white racism. Yep, you heard me correctly.
You're okay. You're okay.
A taxpayer-funded Smithsonian Museum is promoting anti-white racism. Here's what they're really saying in their own words. Whiteness, this is in their own words, whiteness and the normalization of white racial identity throughout America's history have created a culture where non-white persons are seen as inferior or abnormal. You know, I think of Mason Weaver, and I think of other folks that I know and have met. Michael Massey. The smartest people that I know don't have my skin color. Nonsense. Nonsense. Superstition. Wives' tale. Masks. Systematic racism. BS, folks. And you've got to shred it. Get rid of it. Or it'll destroy you, your family, and this nation. Back to the article, the letter. I was born in America and am a proud citizen of our great nation. E.W. Jackson. I have never felt inferior or abnormal because I'm not white. The only people who have ever treated me as inferior were liberals who told me what black people cannot do. You hear it every day, every hour. Blacks and whites, stop that nonsense. Stop listening to this. They're dividing you. I was once told by some white liberals that I shouldn't apply to Harvard Law School because blacks don't score well on standardized tests. They're the ones who promote the idea of inferiority because they see all of us as part of a racial identity groups instead of individuals. Here's another quote from the museum. Whiteness and white radical identity refer to the way that white people, their customs, culture, and beliefs operate as a standard by which all other groups are compared. Whiteness and white radicalized identity refer to the way that white people, their customs, culture, beliefs operate as the standard by which all other groups are compared. You know what the white folk brought to America? Christianity. That's what they're complaining about here, folks. It ain't the white folk. It's what they brought with them.
Yeah, that's not talked about very much, but it's very, very, very true.
Notice the phraseology, all other groups. God did not create us as groups. He created us as individuals with our own thoughts, gifts, abilities, aspirations.
Amen.
It's truly disgusting that an American institution would propagate such despicable, racist demagoguery. Despicable, racist demagoguery, and that is what it is. Get whitey, right? However, it gets worse. Acknowledging your white racial identity and its privileges is a crucial step to help end racism. This is from the Smithsonian. Facing your whiteness is hard. Facing your whiteness is hard. Oh. And can result in feeling of guilt, sadness, confusion, defensiveness, or fear. God spoke the world into existence with words. Do you understand what the Smithsonian is doing here? What they're trying to do? And don't water this seed, folks. Don't water it. EW is issuing a warning to us. Look out there. Look what's happening. So let me get this straight, says EW. By virtue of your racial background, which you did not choose, you should feel guilty, sad, confused, and fearful. The Smithsonian, taxpayer dollars at work. The Smithsonian museums are supposed to be institutions of science and history. What this represents would make Adolf Hitler proud. Or George Orwell. This is the kind of propaganda Hitler promoted against the Jews as a prelude to his campaign to exterminate them. It is now get rid of whitey. The blame game. This un-American, anti-white nonsense, this is a black man, goes on to list certain behaviors and values that are white. These include competition, the work ethic, and the traditional family. Got to get that in there. You got to get that out of there. Here we were all deluded into thinking that these are human values and American values. They also say that concepts like majority rule, striving to be number one or the best at what you do, and working hard are white values. And that's a bad thing. You do see what's happening here, right? Satan likes to divide, right? He likes to be the accuser. He is the accuser. By the way, a white man couldn't say this and get by with it, right? Misogynistic, xenophobic. Names. I think we're better than this, folks, as a nation. I do. That's why I get up here on Saturday mornings and talk to you. I think we're much better than that. I'd like for you to prove me right. Or try to prove me wrong. Even the idea of each child in the family having his or her own bedroom is supposed to be a white thing. Such absurdly evil and pernicious ideas do not belong in the promotion material of a Smithsonian museum. What can you do? First of all, alert your friends. What are you doing this weekend? You don't have to jump in with both feet with a whip and a gun and lose your life. Okay, you don't have to do that. Asking questions. That's what Jesus did. Explain this to me. How exactly does this work? Systemic racism. I'm sorry. Explain that to me. What is that, and who do you know? I'm white. Are you accusing me of doing that? Oh, no, not you. Just all the other white folk. Which ones? My next door neighbor? Oh, no, my boss. No, the guy that works for me. What can you do? First of all, alert your friends and organizations on social media or in your neighborhood. Write the curator of the museum, the head of the museum, or how about President Trump, your congressman, your senator? For evil to flourish, good men need only do nothing. And what's happening in America today? Whew. What kind of future does this portend for our country if this isn't stopped? Quoting E.W. Jackson. A very bad one, he says. I want to thank those of you that are doers, for your unwavering patriotism in the face of all this.
Thank you.
God bless you and your family, and may He continue to bless the United States of America and turn our nation around. For God and country, E.W. Jackson, founder of STAND, staying true to America's destiny. Are you a victim? Are you a winner or are you a loser? What do you want to be? Choice is yours. This is still America. You can still do it, although it's not as easy. But that's because we've let it slip through our hands. Black and white. We need to get the government the heck out of our lives and get the family back in. And if we don't, well, we see what's happening in America today. And we really know why it's happening. We really do know. And yes, we need the church. And we need those other institutions. But if you live in an amoral society, an unjust society, as you sow, so shall ye reap. The Bible has so much wisdom in it. And if you need a confirmation, take a look around you. Take a look at nature. Take a look at who's having the babies and who can have the babies. Take a look at the families and the strong ones and the strong children that come out of them. No, you don't have to. You don't have to have that perfect family. We're not asking for that. We need, as a nation, to have the vision of the natural family. One man, one woman, lifelong, committed, monogamous relationship with their biological and or adopted children. That's what America needs. All this is happening around us is your doing, your creation. And we're hoping that today, somehow, some way, we're going to motivate you to do so. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about masks, a little bit more about the family. American families in a crisis, so you better believe it. And I just can't get off of this mask thing. It is so fascinating that a thin piece of paper can be controlling so many lives, destroying lives, destroying businesses, destroying marriages, destroying family relations. What it's allowed for is just incredible.
It is. It's creating an awful lot of division.
Yep. I think we're about ready to go to hour number 2, Mr. Anderson.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Well, B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, this is your last call. And I think we got to play this, don't we? This one? Is that the one?
Yes, sir.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with B.J. Edwards.
Not doing anything, is it?
I don't know what's going on. Everything is connected.
Maybe the sound's off of this?
That I have a hard time seeing.
Yeah.
But could be.
Yep.
But we're back. We're
We're
back,
back. We're
and
back.
we're fighting that war with that invisible enemy, whatever you want to call it. I call it Satan.
Yeah. Amen to that.
He's
Amen to that.
the director of all the other things going on, which people don't understand, but we're figuring it out. I think.
There's a fellow by the name of Jim Wallace.
Oh, he's a character.
Sojourners. I want to get a little information about Jim Wallace after this, but he is a supposed Christian religious leader in America.
He was actually faith leader for Obama for a while.
Mm-hmm. Speaks well of him. He wrote a recent article. I'm going to take excerpts from it, but this is very telling. We have enemies, and we have friends. You've got to decide which side the individual you're talking with or organization you're dealing with is on. You really do. First thing that popped into my mind was the Republican Party. Really. I mean, are they the enemy or they are our friends? Well, they're the lesser of the evils. Okay. What does that make them? Enemy or friend? Donald Trump is consistently putting his reelection over any commitment to protect the nation's public health. American families in crisis, Jim Wallace. The president clearly has no coherent strategy for addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's clear that the health and the lives of the people of the United States matter much less to him than his own political fortunes. The Bible says, "Judge not, lest you be judged." Mr. Wallace, Reverend Wallace, what are you doing here? Of all the actors in Washington, D.C., of all the actors, you select Donald Trump and you point out what you believe to be a negative, but you don't know. Yes, politician's job is to get elected. I get that. But the means that he's using and what he's trying to do, I think some pretty convoluted logic. Back to the article. Trump's latest political ploy is demanding the opening of all schools in the fall, threatening to pull funding from those that refuse. Just like he turned mask wearing into a political litmus test, he did this. Donald Trump did this, right? BJ didn't. Mr. Anderson didn't. Coach didn't. It was Donald Trump who did this, who separated us. Let me tell you, if there's a politician that separated us, in my state, it's the governor, who last week got up and chastised those, by the way, with no real proof one way or the other, chastised those for not wearing masks. And if you see them in public not wearing masks, they don't care. What's that called, Mr. Anderson?
What's what called?
What I just said? What our governor did? Social shaming?
Oh, yeah.
That's what our governor did. Shamed Americans who are trying to preserve their liberties.
How dare you?
Yes. For 45 minutes during prime time. Chastising, praising those that do, chastising those that don't. There you go, Jim Wallace. There's somebody you can note. Just like he turned mask wearing into a political litmus test. He's using our children's futures as a political tactic to try and put the pandemic behind us, get the economy going again, and help him win a re-election. Well, if he puts the pandemic behind us and gets the economy running again, which he got running in the first place, yeah, is that a bad thing there? Brother Wallace? This is so sad what we do to each other. This is part of the shaming. This is part of that game that we've been playing, that new game, the shame game. In the meantime, back to Mr. Wallace, families are anxious to hear whether, when, and how schools will reopen. How to keep our kids, their teachers, and ourselves safe. And how in the world they can keep caring for and homeschooling their children while working full time. That's an opportunity, folks. Your children need you. They can't. Yes, they can. But you say they can't. I say they can. And it's because of failure of leadership. You are right. You are a failure of leadership, but it's not Donald Trump. It's not Donald Trump. It's in the family. It's in the church. Honk, honk.
Beep, beep.
Are you in the parking lot today, folks?
Beep,
Because
beep.
that's God, where God would have you. There I go again, making friends.
Oh, let's make more friends.
Wallace then goes on to mention the supposed spike in causes, cases, and deaths, failing to mention the minuscule cases in young people. Then, contradicting himself, acknowledges that there are no easy answers and quick fixes. Wait a minute, hold it. The president is causing the problem, but there's no quick fixes? There's no answers? Is he that good? Nah. You have to have information. You make decisions based on information. If that information is invalid, you need to wear a mask. No, you don't need to wear a mask. You need to wear a mask. You don't need to wear a mask. The CDC, I read this the other day, said that whether or not you're wearing a mask, you should be 6 feet apart. Now listen to that. Listen to that statement. Whether or not you're wearing a mask, you need to keep 6 feet apart. I probably couldn't explain to you why 6 feet apart works. When I sneeze, I think I can hit you from 20 feet, okay? Just for the record. I got the schnoz for it. The spike in cases, failing to mention the minuscule cases in young people, then contradicting himself. Blaming Trump for parents who refuse to take responsibility for their own children's education. He mentions what he calls a provocative New York Times article earlier this year. In a COVID-19 economy, this is the headlines for the article, you can have a child or a job. You can't have both. God help those folks with large families, 5, 10. What are you going to do? Foster them out, I guess? Yeah, take them in Montana, right? We'll take good care of them out there. 302-202-1110. Don't get me started here. I'll get you to call in. 302-202-1110, 745-353. Headline, you can have a kid or you can't have both. Laying out the untenable pressure of work and family life under COVID-19, without a doubt, reopening schools is a colossal undertaking. There are no easy solutions to finding enough space for students to socially distance. If you have a school with 4,000 kids or 2,000 kids, that'd take the entire community, wouldn't it? 6 feet apart. Adding more sinks and cleaning staff, and implementing widespread temperature checks, testing, and contact tracing. But after nearly 4 months, state governments don't have any creative or even plausible solutions. I thought this was Donald Trump's job. not the parents, not the state governments, not the local governments, not those public servants. It's Donald Trump, because after all, he is God. Was there a meeting, by the way, with God and some of the religious leaders recently, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, there was.
You got something on that?
I do. There's a sound clip.
Okay.
You would like to
Yeah, when you
hear
can.
it?
Folks,
Hear a little bit of it?
yep.
I got to
I got to change
hide
that.
this.
Folks, necessity is the mother of invention. And COVID actually presents an incredible opportunity to take our children back.
Hello, my friend.
Okay, you ready to
Yeah,
go?
yeah.
Well, I haven't talked to you in a while, but it's not because I haven't been interested in talking
Lance
to you.
Wallno.
I've been
Talking about the president and religious
growing my
leaders.
beard. So I was reading something
God
that
and his followers.
you need to know about, and it's a powerful document. It was leaked to NBC News. I don't know what it is with NBC, how they get a hold of this stuff, but President Trump met with a private group of evangelical leaders
Recently.
Monday night, about 100, 120. And I'm going to read to you. Thank God for the Blaze. Thank God for Glenn Beck, because this hasn't surfaced anywhere. I mean, I'm going to check with CBN. Hopefully, Christian Broadcasting Network had the ability to get this. I can't believe this document isn't going as viral
It's
as
very low
the latest
volume.
Q post or something. So if you haven't heard this, you need to hear it. Donald Trump delivered a private warning
That
to
sounds good.
Christian leaders about what's happening in the country and what's coming up. And he delivered it, and some weasel in the room, after he had the press leave the room and just wanted to talk to the leaders, Christian leaders, somebody recorded him. And I mean, clearly this is a weasel because it wasn't supposed to be recorded, but I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did because I want you to hear verbatim what the president said. And I want you to share with me the indignation and frustration that our movement of Christians is so scattered, fragmented, and siloed off through the, let's be honest about it, the ambitions and the autonomy of Christian leaders and their donor base and their mailing lists, that we don't have what the left has in terms of a coherent mechanism for communicating messages. We got to change this thing. So let me read to you what the president said. Donald Trump told a group of evangelical leaders, November's midterm elections, this is 24 hours ago, 48 hours ago, that the elections are a referendum on your religion. This is fascinating. Donald Trump isn't now saying, hey, I'm a Christian just like you. I'm an evangelical just like you. Look, here's my mother's Bible. See, I'm a Christian. He's actually being honest with these guys, like a Isaiah 45 Cyrus. He's saying, man, I am here to protect you. I am here to help you. I believe in you, and I believe what you're saying is good for the country. And you got to know, folks, this is going to be a dangerous time, and a persecution is potentially on the horizon for you Christians. So listen to this. He says the midterms is going to be a referendum on your religion. Republican losses could be extremely costly. Trump made the comments at a Monday night dinner at the White House after the press left the event. And the remarks were recorded mischievously by someone in attendance, according to CNN. It's not a question of like or dislike. It's just a question that they're going to overturn everything we've done. And they're going to do it quickly and violently. See, he knows the rage and the animus and the hatred that is trying to destroy him and his family. He said, violently. He said, because there is violence. See, he sees Antifa. He sees the lawyers in the Southern District of New York that they want to destroy him financially. He sees the nature of the insidious, destructive, toxic hatred that is in the left wing of America. And he says there's a level of hatred and a level of anger that is just unbelievable. This is Trump, the businessman, coming in and saying it's amazing, surprising to him, right? Now, why did he say that? Trump was imploring the evangelical audience to vote. Now get this, campaign on behalf of the Republican candidates that are in your territory. I mean, you talk about a common sense a declaration. Have you heard this from your pastor? Have you heard this from your church? Have you been seeing this in the posts that are going around? That's why I say We got the Q posts going all over the place. I don't see anybody quoting the prophetic warning of the president, who supposedly is the guy sending these posts out. Here's what he's saying. He's saying you've got to get involved with the candidates that are leading into the midterms. Because if the Democrats gain more influence, which they historically have in every single presidential midterm in the history of the United States that I know of, he says if they get control this time, they will reverse all the progress that's been made. Let me tell you something. I have the evidence. A document was got a hold of. There are 17 new indictment researches that's got legal committees in power.
This is B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. Your last call. If you want to call in, 302-202-1110. 302-202-1110. And then 745-353. We're listening to Lance Wallnau. And this was a meeting that the president had with Christian leaders. And he's basically scolding Christian leaders and say, you need to get out and you need to do something. Get off your knees, dust them off, and get out there and engage the culture.
Time for the church to have his back.
Yep.
He's been trying to cover their back for 3 years.
Yep. No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. He's just looking that way. He's not really doing that.
He's not really that. Yeah.
Back to Lance.
To do a
He's not
forensic
pro-life
analysis of everything Donald Trump has ever done or his family has ever done in business over the last 15 to 20 years. I'm talking about 17 investigations the Democrats are ready to launch. They are so hell-bent on taking him out of office. And Trump prophesied, he said, if they impeach me, the economy will collapse. And that's absolutely true. This 4.5% growth that Obama never thought was possible, and everybody thought Trump was exaggerating when he said he would do it, this growth that America has right now, the trade deficit adjustment that's going on all over the world, this era of peace where nobody wants to test the resolve of this pugnacious and unpredictable president, this period, the moment that they start to pull him out as the stabilizing factor, you will see the confidence in the American economy plummet. And when that happens, you'll see a premature potential recession worse than 2008, perhaps the Great Depression. And I wrote in my book, God's Chaos Candidate.
When was this done, Mr. Anderson? This isn't recent, is it?
Yes, I picked this up.
You sure this is recent? Because this sounds like it's been before pre-pandemic.
That's what I thought when I heard this, but it came across as well. I got it on Thursday, and the
well, it still applies. Whenever it was out there, it still does apply.
It came across as well. This was done like this week.
Yeah. We're good on that. But here's the point, folks. Here's the point. Donald Trump, I know you're going to hate this, isn't perfect. He may not be the kind of Christian that you want him to be. But then again, with all the denominations, how could he possibly be? We denominate, divide, right?
Well, and let's look at ourselves. I mean, who is the kind of Christian you want them to be?
No, seriously, that's a great point. That's a great point. He's been put in a position, and he has an opportunity. But guess what? We, the people, have an opportunity too. We can spend our time criticizing him, or trying to work off of what he's doing. Maybe even support some of the things that he's done. He's not in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has made a lot of bad decisions, folks. Bad decisions, and that's because of we, the people. He didn't appoint the entire Supreme Court.
And even if he does appoint, is he really going to get the people in there? I mean, realistically, are we going to get the kind of judges we really want? The way, just look what Kavanaugh went through.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to go through that?
I get that.
You know, Trump is a very rare man when you look at what he has gone through and his family is going through.
That's entrepreneurs. That I love the entrepreneur lean, partially because I am one, but I love that. I mean, you're stubborn and opinionated, and it's good. I think he's got a lot of our opinions. Let me put it that way, and I'm glad he does. But we were talking about an article from Jim Wallace, and how he's criticizing Trump and really being unfairly criticizing Trump. And as a Christian, we need to watch that there, James. Yeah, a Christian brother. I haven't written as many books as you have. You're right. And now, Brother Wallace, after he gets done criticizing Trump, they always go to the Trump card. Excuse the pun. He delivers the killer blow. Racism. And I quote, because of the way our society is stratified by class and permeated by racist structures in almost every way, the fact that working people of color, no, he doesn't say families, but working people, are among the most likely to need to be able to send their children to school in order to put food on the table collides viciously with the reality that working people of color are among the most likely to have health, living, or family conditions that put them and their loved ones at greater risk of severe illness or death if they contact COVID-19. There again, blacks, you can't handle it. You're unable to handle it. Whatever it is, you need help.
We're going to take care of you.
Yeah. Forcing working people, generally and disproportionately people of color, to choose between their lives and their livelihood has been a feature of the pandemic since its earliest days and is perhaps the pandemic's most morally monstrous aspect. All the more so because other countries have shown that it is possible to simply pay most workers to stay home and businesses to stay closed until the virus is much more under control, as has happened in much of Europe. Mr. Anderson, I got to tell you something. It's going to break your heart. But Mr. Wallace graduated from Michigan State University. Just saying. Just saying. And because I'm from Ohio, that doesn't mean that well, maybe it does. Continuing with the racist theme, Wallace notes the supposed inequalities in our education system, which are dependently on property taxes for their funding, make the whole enterprise fundamentally unequal right from the get-go, as schools in wealthier areas invariably have bigger budgets to educate their children than those in poor areas. Absent significant federal aid to every school district in the country. Didn't we have a story about a Baltimore school district, which is one of the highest paid, third highest paid per student district, and their students could barely read and write? Money is not necessarily the answer to education, folks. It's not the panacea. Go ahead, Mr. Ex-school teacher.
Oh, no, well, I consider Jesus standing on a hill and getting his message out. How many years has it been? And it has yet to cease. I don't think it will ever cease. A teacher. It didn't take any money at all, did it?
Nope. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't care about any of this. People stand in line. I guess when you're in that position, when you're in a position of power, then you're going to get a lot of this. But a lot of this is so unnecessary and so unfounded. So nasty.
Education does not have to be expensive. It's the unions.
Mm-hmm.
It's the unions. And they always argue, well, it's for the children. It's never for the children. It's always for the administration.
Right.
It's for the teachers. It's for tax dollars. It's for benefits. It's never for the children.
He notes that Trump is only appealing to parents seeking some level of return to normal and reviving the battered economy by getting parents back into the workforce is just a ploy to get reelected. Further stating the fact that public school teachers are chronically underpaid. Yeah.
Tell that to the factory worker who has to work 50 weeks and get 2 off.
All right, we went through the racism thing, and now, the twin sister, get the rich. Wallace then declares the wealthy win again, as always in America, as they have the ability to afford child care and are much more able to provide their children with the highest quality remote education as long as necessary. Is it time for Congress to step up with the resources necessary? Here we go again, government, for every school district to open in the safest way possible. Look, I understand there are exceptions to this, especially given how we've destroyed the family. And the family is supposed to pick this up. But you don't fix this by further empowering that entity that destroyed the family in the first place, the government, that replaced it in the first place, the government, that replaced education, the government. You don't, money's the power to make decisions. You don't give them more tax money. You don't give them more carte blanche. Here's my children, take them, educate them. They did. Seattle, Minneapolis, do you need to see more?
Yeah, wait till you see the moms.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're going to get that one out too?
Well,
It is time.
I could play that.
It's time for Congress to step up with the resources necessary for every school district to open its safest way possible.
Are we done with Lance? I'll get rid of that.
Yeah, and it's time for the churches to set up and provide space and the volunteers and care for and to help educate children whose parents will need to go back to work. Churches can be an integral part of this. Churches can offer help in doing this once they get over their mask. Anyway, and it's time for Donald Trump to step down. Everyone needs to step up, and Donald Trump needs to step down away from the mess he has created and allow federal leadership to finally occur in the midst of what has become both a health and moral crisis. In 2010, Wallace admitted to accepting money from sojourners from George Soros after initially denying having done so. That's a good Christian boy, Jim. When conservative writer Marvin Olasky pointed this out, what he had done, and that Soros also financed groups supporting abortion, atheism, and same-sex marriage in World Magazine column, Wallace said, "I'm sad to see Marvin Olasky lies for a living." Wallace subsequently apologized to Olasky for the comments. The following year, Wallace acknowledged that sojourners had received another $150,000 from Soros Open Society Foundation. Consider the source. This all comes back to us, folks. This really all comes back to us. Like everything else. You want to play that? This is from the moms. Tell me a little bit more about this clip, Mr. Anderson.
Well, recently there's been protests. I don't know who. I think Antifa and maybe Black Lives Matter are teaming up and storming the courthouse, federal courthouse in Portland. And Trump had sent federal officers there to calm things down because evidently they either requested or can't handle it, Trump's interference. So these so-called moms are shielding their children, they say. You know, they're protecting their children from federal officers. So this is kind of a interesting little video take. It'll take me a second to share screen here to get it up.
Okay.
But I can do that.
Boy, we got some very interesting activities going on in America.
Oh, this is crazy in my book.
And everybody refers back to this like the Vietnam era.
Oh, it's worse than that.
Well, there is similarities, but those kids weren't allowed to get away with this like these kids are. And those kids weren't worshipped like these kids are. They weren't praised. They weren't funded.
You didn't see adults backing children acting like this. Got to wonder what a mom is when you see this.
I've asked where are the moms? Where are the dads? Moms are here. Feds stay clear.
rights.
A little loud. I'm here. I don't know whether it's.
Kidnapping people. You just violated their rights.
Just violated her rights.
A wall of moms to shield protesters from federal officers. Been going on since July 18th. We are kids' moms.
More victims.
Oh, they're throwing tear gas. My goodness.
I stood here with my sign and I put flowers in the fence and I gave peace signs to the officers that came out and aimed their guns at me. And I said that I'm here with my First Amendment right to peacefully protest, and they still shot me with more pepper spray than I've ever seen. Somebody made a call at midnight last night. The feds made a call at midnight last night to pepper spray the moms, and that's what they did.
What's going on behind these ladies are the protesters are taking crowbars and sludging them,
Really
breaking
hurt,
the
really
boards
bad,
that were
and
put
I've
on the
gotten shot by
courthouse
bullets,
doors and
tear gas.
windows.
What keeps me going is I'm a mom too. I have a 3-year-old at home.
So they're breaking into a courthouse and the moms are
to wake up every morning loving
providing
her
a
skin
line of
and knowing that
protection
she's
for them.
beautiful
Good
and
for
black.
them.
Now that and they're trying to paint Trump as a bad guy here.
We're not going to let New York and Chicago and Philadelphia and Detroit and Baltimore and all of these, Oakland is a mess. We're not going to let this happen in our country. All run by liberal Democrats.
More federal law enforcement to some of these cities?
More federal law enforcement, that I can tell you. In Portland, they've done a fantastic job. They've been there 3 days, and they really have done a fantastic job in a very short period of time. No problem. They grab them, a lot of people in jail. They're leaders. These are anarchists. These are not protesters.
Same thing the Muslims do. They put the women and children in the front lines.
People say protesters. These people are anarchists. These are people that hate our country. And we're not going to let it go forward.
Trump is stepping up to use federal force as his poll numbers plummet over his handling of the coronavirus crisis. Now this. Mothers. I wonder how many of them actually are mothers.
Well, there was one that said she had a 3-year-old at home. Another single mom, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Where's
really
the fathers? Where are the fathers? Hello, where are the fathers?
Exactly. Where are the fathers? Would these kids be doing that if they had dads at home? Dads who were veterans, are veterans. It's just amazing to me. And what were we saying about victims earlier?
We're all victims. We're all
Yeah,
victims. We're all
yeah.
victims. If it wasn't for the government, we just wouldn't. I don't know how we get by without the government.
Our heart bleeds for these poor children who are ripping off the boards on the windows, protecting a building, a federal building, behind the backs of these mothers. I tried to do a little more research. But it was hard for me to track down the woman who organized this mom's thing. She's from Hawaii, and she
Nice conservative state, by the
a
way.
professor, holds degrees out the wazoo, 6 degrees I think she holds, and she is a professional in this kind of thing and organizing
Yeah.
people together for different purposes. I couldn't get a lot of information on her. There's some stuff on her on LinkedIn. I wanted to find out her background, but I wasn't able to do that before today.
You know, hate has many fathers.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. It does. They mentioned COVID in that clip. And of course, that's what they want the president to wear. And keep in mind of the 2% that voted for him and the 98% that didn't. He's not going to get any support. And they're going to do everything they can. They're trying to do it with the economy. They tried to do it with Russia. Think of everything that's coming at this man. This is incredible. This isn't a praise and worship hour, by the way, for Donald Trump. I'm just noting facts. Speaking of which,
well, COVID is a global issue. It isn't just a U.S. issue.
right? Yep.
So what are the other people doing?
Is COVID just a bad flu? We're talking about facts. Can children easily spread COVID to adults, including their teachers? Is it easily spread by asymptomatic carriers? Is it spread by just someone you cross on the street? Like some of those women at abortion clinics get pregnant because somebody spit on the street, like that? Can it be easily spread on surfaces? Can you get reinfected? Social distancing is based on sound science. Mask wearing for all is based on sound science. COVID is spreading in an exponential manner. Returning children to school is a gamble with their lives. COVID is very deadly for the general population. COVID has killed 500,000 plus extra people around the world this year. 500,000. 2020 has been a very deadly year. We need more ventilators. Lockdowns have saved millions of lives. Sweden has been reckless in its COVID approach and failed. Every life counts and lockdowns don't have health consequences. Those who question the corona panic narrative are conspiracy theorists. Oh, there's that name calling. The U.S. is facing a dangerous second wave. We're very far from the herd immunity, and reopening too early is deadly. When will this COVID madness end? I believe you can make a case that every one of those comments I just said are false. You can make a case that every one of those comments are true. What price liberty? Are you willing to give up your liberties? It's what you've done, Ohio. It's what you're doing, Texas, California, Florida. At what price your liberties? Our founders gave their lives, their fortunes, so we could have liberty. And what are we doing with it? We're certainly mistreating it, lady. What have we done with our liberty? Look at us. Look at us. You know, I was in, I need to give a PG warning here, PG-13 warning, okay? Real quick, I need to give that PG-13 warning. So put your hands over your children's ears, okay? First of all, folks, I don't believe in Santa Claus. You got your hands over your child's ears? I don't believe in Santa Claus. I don't believe in the Easter Bunny. And I don't believe that a thin piece of porous cloth or paper will protect you or me from a corny virus. Okay, you can open your kids' ears now. I was at a local, my favorite store, won't mention the name, this week. And although they do not require it, literally everyone in that store had a mask on. with one exception, of course. And as you might all guess, I was disappointed. A week before, the governor of the state of Ohio, our supposed leader, chastised anyone and everyone who didn't have sense enough to wear a mask based upon corny science. Yet, you'd better wear it. Otherwise, you mean to hurt your neighbors, your friends. What a bad person you are. 45 minutes of that stuff. The city that I live in doesn't require masks. Nor does our county. Yet, there they were. All the sheeple. Oops. Am I shaming? Masked up and no place to go. I literally almost cried. Honest to God, I really did. Just sat down right in the middle of the aisle and go, my goodness, what do I have to do? It was incredible. So why the concern and tears? Let's start here. After the Kentucky mother we talked about last week on our show refused to sign a state document regarding COVID-19, the county treated her and her family like criminals. The country put them, this burns me. The county put them on house arrest and sent a team of 8 sheriff's deputies and health officials in 5 cars to the residence to slap ankle bracelets on everyone in the house. If they go more than 200 feet away from their home, they're in trouble. Now, this treatment was not because they were unwilling to self-quarantine, which they were already doing. It was simply because the mother was unwilling to sign a document giving up the freedom for their family, get this, to take an ambulance in case of a medical emergency for her infant daughter. Think about that. Think about that. And the state's your daddy. The government document would include a promise to wait. Your child is there bleeding to death, but you got to make a call and make sure it's okay, and then they'll send the ambulance out. Make a call with the government office to first receive approval from a bureaucrat prior to taking an emergency conveyance, i.e. ambulance, to the hospital. This restriction would have affected family who had not tested positive but had only been exposed to one asymptomatic person. Did they want to visit the local restaurants and bars to willfully infect the patrons? No. Right now, the Linscott family is outfitted with ankle bracelets. Did they rob a bank or kill somebody? They wanted to care for their infant daughter and have the freedom to, if an emergency arose, take her by ambulance to the hospital. Yet because of a poorly written, undefined government document, this young family has been treated like common criminals. Answering a knock at the door, her husband was met by 8 deputies and a health official that arrived in 5 cars. Let that set in. Really? Really? When the mother expressed concern about the document, the mother and father were fitted with the ankle bracelets. The documents demand people agree to a long list of orders, including one person cannot stay in their own car alone and drive across the county line and return home, even though it would be impossible to spread the virus to others in this manner. What was that list? Children can easily spread. We're accepting this as fact. Can easily spread COVID to adults from organizations that say whether you have a mask on or not, you need to stand 6 feet apart. Whether you have a mask on or not. In a separate demand, the document also requires that people not leave the state, even though it clearly is impossible for someone to leave their state while staying inside of their own county. It requires that they take their temperature at approximately the same time each day and report it to local health department. Good Lord. This all started for Elizabeth when she wanted to go to her grandparents and just remind you what we talked about. Even though she was experiencing no symptoms, out of an abundance of caution, she got tested before the trip. Her test came back positive. That's when it started. If I have to go to the ER, if I have to go to the hospital, I'm not going to wait to get the government's approval to do so, she said, speaking of the contract. Although she never refused to self-quarantine, that's exactly what the director of the public... Listen to this. We were talking about justice and injustice earlier. Talked about that individual at the abortion clinic who was accused. Although she never refused to self-quarantine, that's exactly what the director of public health department told the judge. Based upon that false information, the judge signed off on the order, and 5 cars ended up at the house. Folks, this is the America that we live in right now. Are we going to accept local officers to misrepresent law-abiding citizens and place them under house arrest? Or are we going to change this and fight again for our freedoms today? I got to tell you, folks, this is enough to make a preacher cuss.
Few of them are.
Yeah. This
the good ones.
This is insane.
The good ones are cussing.
And we want to make sure we all get along. We don't want to offend anybody. But we're not. And as a result, they're strapping restrictions on Americans, the land of the free and the home of the brave. How about this? This is B.J. Edwards along, Mr. Anderson, your last call.
See if it works this time.
Yeah? Okay.
I don't know. I tried a different buttons, and I hope maybe something happens.
Not hearing it.
The green light isn't on.
Okay. Try this one. I don't think we're going to have any success, Mr. Anderson.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Something to work on. One of our devices.
What do you think about those folks in Kentucky? Coming to a town near you, folks. Coming to your own house. We aware that the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, tried to ban all religious worship last week, even in your own home.
Home fellowship canceled.
They're probably going to have to start putting cameras there to make sure you don't worship, right? And then strap you in. When California Governor Newsom began implementing his illegal and unconstitutional church closure and restrictions, California Christians moved to worship the Lord in their own homes. Family and friends met in each other's living rooms, Sunday services, midweek Bible studies. Evidently, these faithful Christians determined that the word of the Lord would not be stopped, even in a time of COVID. Please honk out there if you agree, right? Honk for me. When 2 or more are gathered in his name, he is there with us also. Amen? But Governor Newsom would not be thwarted in his attempt to silence and prevent the spread of the gospel. This is kind of a mask, isn't it? Ordering a mandatory directive making in-home gatherings, even small group meetings or Bible studies among neighbors in their own homes, illegal. Yet the very same order, this is the insanity of this, that bans private worship in people's homes, specifically mentions and allows the violent Marxist protest tearing California apart. In essence, promoting Marxist uprisings, even as he tries to crush Christian worshiping in their own homes. This, by the way, came from Liberty Counsel, who was representing a church in California, as well as, I think, the couple in Kentucky and some other folks across the United States. think I put something on my Facebook page. Wow, Harvest International is a church. When Governor Newsom first issued his anti-worship COVID edicts, he tried to limit all churches and houses of worship, regardless of size, to just 10 people. Then he banned singing and chanting unless Black Lives Matter. Then you can do it. The same order that bans indoor church and in-home Bible protest studies also specifically allows protests. Not only does the governor support mass protests, for months it has been well known that he has welcomed COVID-positive people to cross the border with Mexico and flood California hospitals. Why are the cases rising, BJ? Newsom welcomed his COVID tourism just as he has welcomed illegal immigrants and open borders. But now, instead of addressing the violent problems in the streets and at the hands of rioters or the responsibility of importing COVID into the state, the California governor is banning all personal worship. I mentioned crying earlier. Would you all like to cry with me now? We are in so much trouble. But this also presents opportunities. This isn't going to be easy. Trying to take your authority back in the family, that's not going to be easy. After you've given it away, after those you've given away to have been accustomed to it, be it the government, other family members, neighbors, your schools, businesses. Not going to be easy. But it must be done. In the beginning, God started with the family. One man, one woman. I don't think he did that by accident. Oh gosh, what am I going to do next? You know what? I'm going to make a female. Let's just see what happens here. I think he knew what he was doing here. And when we talk about Father in heaven, how do we know what a father is? Yes. Families are spatial, are they not? When somebody hurts you emotionally, a neighbor, a school teacher, or a family member, which one are you going to choose? Which one is going to be the toughest to get over? And why? I talk a lot about those apps that we're born with. There's one of them. We really need to get our act together, folks. COVID is an opportunity. All that we see out there is an opportunity. I've gotten to know the sheriff of our county. And I really like the guy. And I've listened to him. And he's listened to me. That wouldn't have happened had I not been trying. Is this frustrating? Oh, you betcha. Oh, you betcha. Seeing all this insanity, when I talked about California, when I talk about Kentucky, that's infuriating. Or when I go to Meijer, there they did it. When I go to the store and I see all the people with masks on. Costco, Kroger, you name them, Safeway. And the looks. I don't know what happened to that article I had, but somebody had written me an article about the shaming that goes on in America and how we do it everywhere. Yeah, we do it with a mask. But Black Lives Matter, that's shaming, isn't it? Isn't it? When you go to an abortion clinic, here I go making friends again, what are you doing? Are you shaming? Is there good shaming and bad shaming? Is shaming a positive as versus a negative? Perhaps yes. Perhaps yes. It can be used as a positive weapon or as a negative weapon. And this insanity about everybody being a victim, everybody being offended. We need to get over ourselves, folks. We really do. We also need to recognize that we have a creator, a God in heaven. And kind of maybe think about his feelings and what we've done, how we've insulted him. Bevelin, the lady that went to New York City and hand painted over Black Lives Matter.
Finger painted.
Her conversation about the family. You know, there's a lot of people, and I'm talking about my generation, that came back from World War II. And I don't know why that is, but I talked to a lot of folks that did have family issues. Some severe, not so severe, but they did have family issues. Maybe it's because those families wanted to give them more than they had. Wasn't that a common expression, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah.
I never had that. I want to give them something.
I want my children to have a better life than I did.
Right. And that meant material things, unfortunately.
For most families, anyway.
Yep. I look forward to speaking with Bevelin, because I want to talk to her about the 3 aspects of the family that are so critical. The content. It has to be one man and one woman, biologically born. Lifetime committed monogamous relationship, no divorce. You make a commitment, you make a commitment. It's a huge commitment. And within that content, I mean, you can't just mix it all together like pancake mix, okay? You've got to establish a structure. And it has to be vertical. Children learn authority. They learn morals in the home. And if there's an authoritative figure there, wait till Dad gets home, right? It's going to work. The Bible tells us God, Jesus Christ, man, woman, children. A vertical relationship. That is a staple in the family just as much as the content of the family. And finally, by the way, that's what happened to Rome. Rome flattened that out. It became a horizontal relationship. That's what destroyed Rome.
Flattened the curve, did they?
Yeah, they did. But you gotta have that. You gotta have that authority. You see it. You see the lack of it. Mothers in the street. Come on, fathers. Really? Where's the authority? Where's the real authority in the family? I didn't see it. Mothers in the street, really? Dads? You ought to be embarrassed. If, indeed, those were married ladies. Hard to say. Final aspect, the 3-legged stool, the content.
Or married to beta males.
The structure. And then the place of the family in society. How do we look at the family? Is teaching morals the family's job? No, it's the church's, really. They can help, but whose job is it? If we were to interview our Creator, whose job is it? I think it'd be quite apparent. And it is in His Word who that job is. Who the job belongs to. The family is in today's society. We have the tail wagging the dog. The family should be at the head of the table. Everything we do should be in relationship to that family, and we need to examine: will what we're doing hurt the family, or what we're doing help the family? If it hurts the family, then we don't do it. We don't pass a law, an ordinance. We don't allow it in our streets, whether we have a law or not. It's cultural, the family. You want to resolve the issues in America. You want to resolve the issues in the lives of Americans. Then get your act together, family. And that's going to take a lot of work.
It's not an easy task, and it's the most ignored, I think.
Sure it is.
I
It's most overlooked. I don't think it's like ignored. It's just Well, the family's important, yeah, and then we need to get into what's hurting us right now.
It's
go ahead.
ignored by our politicians
Yeah,
and
that's
their
true.
legislation
That's true.
and things that they do. Those things, they don't consider it.
Got it. Hey, thanks for listening today. This is B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. Your last call. We hope we've helped today. We hope we motivated you. Maybe put a little burr in your saddle. Catch you next week. Same time, same station. And I don't think this will play, but I'll try it anyway.
No, I don't think it's working. I don't know why.